They're all going to be announced. They're going to come in. We're going to get ready to swear them in. We're swearing them in as a group, though. So the first one that comes in will come to the far left of me. Mayor Molly Diebold. President of Council Mila Gibbs.
Go over there for now.
Council members Eddie Popovich. Oh wait, I did that again. Vice President of Council Brooklyn Harushka.
Because you skipped us the first time.
Yeah. Council member Eddie Popovich. Council member John Wright.
John's not here.
Oh, John's not here. I'm sorry. Council member Dominic Fletcher. Council member Noah Tobaz. Council member Jack Edwards. Borough Manager Drew Wright. Human Resources Maria Colasante. Finance Clerk Aubrey Keenan. Chief of Police Liliana Pido. Captain of Police Wyatt Zatelli. Police Clerk Malaya Beatty. Police Detective Frankie Biondi. School Resource Officer Vanessa Colasante. Fire Chief Brandon Gary. Fire Marshal Liam Eubank. Street Commissioner Ty Seibel. Borough Engineer Lucas Berge. But Lucas isn't here, right?
Lucas isn't here yet.
Code Enforcement Officer Hope Versetti. Paramedic Quinn Stevens. Emergency Medical Technician Zoe Lanier. Borough Solicitor Gia Marzik. Constable Eamon Kelly. Tax Collector Sawyer Bistursi. Sewage Authority Carly Strong. Emergency Management Coordinator Ariana Gruska. Got them all. So what we're going to do now is you guys got to get sworn in so you can actually sit back here and take these seats. So if I can have everybody turn around, let's rather than a long crowd, why don't we put you in two groups? You know, not two swearing-ins, but both like right in the middle. You know. 2 rows.
And then we'll get you that way. You coming, Drew? Yeah. We've done that. Perfect, stop there, Malia. Vanessa, follow Malia.
All right.
Keep them down.
Okay. You know what? And
Gia
I
and
probably,
Lily switch.
I think it's important that I swear you in so your mom and dads can get a good picture of you.
Right?
I'm gonna step in front of you here so we can do a picture. You got my back in it. but Everyone good.
You may have to get on your knees.
You're right, that's not good. Okay, you play here. She wants a picture. I think that's the best
Why
way
don't
to
you
do it.
stand on this end?
That's good. Good
Then
idea.
everyone can get a picture.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, you can all look over here at me, and we're gonna have, raise your right hand. Okay? Everybody raise your right hand? Okay. And the first part, you're gonna say your name. I. Now say your name. Elected to my borough of office for Munhall Borough.
Appointed as
Well, you're not appointed, you're elected. There was elections. Elected to my borough office. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of Pennsylvania and the Constitution of the United States and the bylaws of the Borough of Munhall. I solemnly swear to discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Okay, congratulations. Does everybody remember who they're with tonight? Okay, why don't everybody go? Who their persons are with, if you need help. And all you come with me. Take that with you.
taking everything away from me, so you're good.
Some pictures with their particular tax collector.
That is not good.
Got it. Making it easy on me. Sawyer looks like he's already doing
I know.
It's already like, oh,
He said
good. Very serious. I told her, and he's ready.
I told him don't check my taxes.
He's ready in there.
You want it? No,
Oh, she has to be with her. Oh, okay, so we got it, okay. Just want to make sure somebody was with her.
I like to start the meeting. Munhall Council. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ask her out loud.
That's startling. I pledge.
Does it?
Maria, please give us a roll call.
3 minutes.
Councilman Jack Edwards. Councilman Dominic.
No.
You have to listen
You
to
wait
them
for
say
them to
here
answer
first.
you.
They have to say here, I didn't tell you. You have to wait for them to say here. Just call them.
Try again.
Councilman Jack Edwards. Present. Councilman Dominic Fletcher. Councilman Eddie Popovich. Present. Councilman Noah Tobas.
Present.
Councilman John Wright. Vice President Brooklyn Harushka. President Mila Gibbs. Mayor Molly. Present. Solicitor Gia Mardak. Rough Engineer Lucas Berger. Police Chief Liliana Pida. Present. Fire Chief Randy Beer. Present. Street Department Conditioner Ty Seidman. Here. Code Enforcement Officer Hope Setti. Borough Manager Drew Wright. Present.
I'm going to do the official roll call. Councilwoman Fry. Present. Councilman Hannah.
Present.
Councilman Stein. Councilman Bodadian.
Present.
Councilman Youngkins.
Present.
Vice President Ondo.
Present.
President Brennan.
Here.
Mayor Falls.
Here.
Solicitor Greg Vashevik.
Here.
Borough Engineer Colin Lamport.
Here.
Police Chief Tom Fuller.
Here.
Fire Chief Ed Pledge.
I am here.
Public Works Supervisor Bob Bicey.
I'm here.
Scott McCullough. Building Code Official, Code Enforcement Officer, and Zoning Officer Dave Cannon.
Here.
Borough Office Administrator Becky Worth, and I'm here.
Thank you, Becky. So we'd like to have a special thanks to the teachers who made this day special. Let's give them a hand of applause. And special congratulations to all the students as well.
Absolutely.
little report here.
Memorial Day Parade, May 30th. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Steel Valley Band.
That's just some of the many things we're gonna have there. It'll be fun time for all. It starts at 9:30.
Starts at 9:30
It goes to the Hope Cemetery.
and it goes to the Hopewell Cemetery.
Thank you, Mayor. Solicitor, your report.
Solicitor report. I have reviewed the plans for the DEP for the new sewer taps in the Riley's Restaurant and Plate Mill. I have prepared 2 resolutions that must be voted on council tonight. That ends my report.
Thank you, Solicitor. Borough Manager, can I hear your report?
This is a reminder of financial interest. Statements are due for those who are required to submit them. Please be sure to turn them into Becky or Joy in the administration office.
Thank you, Borough Manager. Borough Engineer, can I hear your report?
He's not here.
Oh,
Public Works Chair and Supervisor, can I hear your report?
is that someone's cell phone?
Not mine.
All right, parents, turn all your phones off.
Here's that. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Part 12, 1 calls. Pick up TVs on Friday. Pick up metal on Friday.
Public Post Chief, can I hear your report?
Officers should please maintain time. You're good there. You're good there.
Thank you, Chief. Fire Chief, can I hear your report?
Emergency response, emergencies, responders, non-able, mobile towers, assistance by other departments, 6
The fire chief also wants to remind everybody, we're putting up the Main Street banners this Saturday, the veterans banners. So we could use all the help we can get, 9 a.m. up on Main Street. And don't forget the parade down the waterfront, the 5K race on the waterfront, we'll have the waterfront shut down Sunday morning.
Thank you, Fire Chief. Code Enforcement Officer, can I hear your report?
Mrs. President, you have a copy of my report. I revised 228 phone calls, sent out 30 letters, did 14 inspections. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Code Enforcement Officer. Finance Chair, can I hear your report?
finance chairperson. My committee and I sign the checks every Tuesday to pay the borough bills. And the payroll from the general fund. The money that goes into the general fund comes from the property tax and wage taxes and from the garbage collection fee of $220 a year per household.
Thank you, finance chairs. Sewer authority. Sawyer authority, can I hear your report?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. All of the approved meeting minutes are on the authority website at www.nssma.us. The Sewage Authority's next public meeting will be on Wednesday, June 1st, 2022. Our 2022 repair project has been advertised with the bid opening is May 31st, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, sewer authority. Tax collector, can I hear your report?
So far this year, I have collected over $1,170,000. I still have $3.4 million to collect. I have 2 reports for Ms. Fry, one for May, 1 year today.
Thank you, tax collector. Vice President, do you have anything you'd like to say?
And the reason that I brought this up to the council president was because we were told that we were supposed to write something up about our duties of what we do. I'm looking out there and I'm saying, okay, yeah, you're vice president of council, but that's not all that we do. We just don't sit in the chair, we don't do this and we don't do that. And I'm sure that there are others here who maybe have something written up. So I wrote something up for Brooklyn to say, and because like I said, you really don't know what we do. You can watch it on the video and stuff like that, but you really don't know what we do. So Brooklyn, it's all, Vice President Council, it's all yours.
Hello, my name is Brooklyn Orska. I am a proud member of Munhall Council and also the Vice President of Council. As Vice President, I will preside over the monthly workshop and council meetings in the absence of the President. I am Chairman of the Public Works Committee. Being a veteran, I proudly serve as the Chairman of the Veterans and Government Affairs Committee. I serve on the Public Safety Committee, the Flight Committee, and Contract Committee, and currently serve on the Planning Committee for 3 consecutive terms. I co-signed the Borough Weekly Checks with the Finance Chairwoman, Ms. Fry. I am also available to answer any residents' questions or address any concerns at any time.
Yes. You know what?
Thank you, Vice President.
Good job. She did.
Any other councilman like to speak? I'm a computer guy.
So we did this, just so everybody knows, and everybody who's up at this podium right now, we do other things other than what you're saying right now. So, but I will say she does more than everybody else. Good job. Thank you. Good job.
I'd like to say what I have to say.
Listen up.
The issue with the road on Waterfront Drive at the railroad tracks has been repaired. Thank you to everyone who helped resolve this.
So, just want to mention one thing about this whole repair down there. This is something we've been working on for quite a long time. And the maintenance on that road is covered by the 3 boroughs. And we went, as presidents of council, and Rob has been a past president of council, presidents of council meet at the meetings, and we talk about the roads and what the projects we want to do. This was one subject that was brought up, and it was almost not done. Munhall was and I'm telling this for the residents of Munhall, so you all know that I, as president of council, was at the meeting, and I spoke up and said, we need to get this repaired. Rainey Fry was at the meeting, and she backed me 100% at the meeting, and we got a response that maybe they didn't want to do that. That's when I called the mayor and talked to the mayor of West Homestead and our mayor, and we talked, and we said, we may have to shut the road down, because if it was getting so bad down there, and everyone who has driven over it realizes how bad it was. So I thank the mayor, Rainey, because it was a collaborated effort. We got this thing taken care of, and we're moving on. So. Well, they know where the railroad tracks were dismantled. Everyone who went down there knows exactly where they were. So.
Any speakers in the audience? Thank you.
All right, so at this point in time, we'd like to thank all our council members from the students of the school district of Steel Valley for being here tonight. We're so proud of all of you. Let's give them a big hand of applause. And that's going to conclude this phase of our council meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for welcoming us. All right, don't forget your bags and your gifts.
Mayor, take your seat.
We get out of here a minute early.
I'm just joking.
Oh, I know.
So, if you look now at our column 6, I guess it is, on our agenda here tonight, we have council items, and these are items that came to us early Monday morning, and we wanted to put this out for items of discussion from council. I believe that each of these items we do not have to vote on or put out for bid, I should say. And I'll ask our solicitor after we talk about all this stuff if indeed this is true. And these are items that we need to talk about, and I'm going to give the floor to Bill Hanna and let him go over some of these items so he can explain to council what they are, what the expenditures are, and we can then decide on how we want to go further with this. So in saying that, Bill, do you want to recap and go over these additional items? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4,
6 different items we have listed.
Plus, I have a couple more. Gladly. First item is new laptop for the Borough Manager when we appoint the Borough Manager. The current laptop is over 5 years old. I've seen better days. I estimate the cost would be, at the most, $3,500 to $4,000 itself. It's certainly needed. Like I said previously, the laptop that was used by the former Borough Manager is 5 years old. Second thing is here for the new building at 1860 is for the data closets themselves. The building has generator right there. In other words, when there is a power hit in the building, power will stay up itself as the generator kicks on. But we need what is called an uninterruptible power supply that handles the network itself and the servers, along with the power strips that these things plug into. Estimated cost in Borough, I handed you out some, if you look at what I handed you, the estimated cost, that's on the first sheet right there if you look. Estimated cost for that with everything is around $6,000. The next item for the new building is to create a point-to-point wireless link in between here and the fire department. The idea there would be when we move from 1900 West Street to this building, we could eliminate the internet connections and phone connections themselves. Naturally, I'm aware that the fire department has internet service and some telephone lines. We'll work closely with Ed to make sure we don't miss anything or make any decisions themselves. That link is going to come in approximately $2,700 itself. In the future, we may consider also doing a wireless point-to-point link to the Public Works Department. That's also possible. All you need is a line of sight for very short that way across the parking lot, which is cheaper than digging up the parking lot. The next thing is up for consideration, which doesn't really need to be as soon as we move in, but the community room upstairs, for which we were just in, there are no cameras in the room itself, and discussing with the chief itself, we felt that was appropriate, right there, to have those cameras in the room for security's sake. The building itself has a total of around 40 cameras, but we're taking approximately 14 from the old facility, and we're going to integrate them here. That was part of the original bid. The next item up for consideration is on the day of the move.
Is that $2,097? Is that for the camera?
Yes, the cameras are a little over $2,000.
$2,000.
And they will integrate into the existing video system themselves that's there. And it will be a Panasonic system. That was part of the Borough bid. When we move, which that was not part of the building, any moving costs to move from one facility to the other. I've gotten, T&M rates from Telephonics, Bill Mead, and also the Shales Group, which we'll talk about the Shales Group next. That would be an hourly figure. I don't see that costing over $10,000 itself. That would be to move the equipment, make sure everything was operational, which would be the telephone system, the network itself, the police radios, the Wi-Fi in the building, and anything else, and verifying that the fire department will be up and operational also. The fire department has their own set of radios which they'll handle. The next item on the list right there is installation of power, some power connections down in the police department. And so if we have a bid from 5 systems, it's around $4,000 or so itself. That was not part of the building. The next item is the Shales Group, which will take over for the Tulip Group, which did the IT support for the police department. IT support is handled primarily by 3 different vendors here at Munhall. With the police department, you have to be certified. So we just can't just have a generic IT firm handle it. You have to have certifications. Shales Group has experience doing this. They are currently working with Pleasant Hills and Jefferson Hills and also Mount Lebanon Gentleman's name is Nick Shields. They've offered us a contract itself, which is approximately $8,000 a year, which includes monitoring, patching of software, monitoring the PCs and everything else, really full service. Actually more, I would think, from what was provided before by Tulip. The Tulip folks have decided to retire and no longer be in business, so they are the alternate source themselves. And the last item for the new building is we've received cleaning proposals before, so when we move in, we will have to make a decision on what we do for cleaning in this building, and the bids range anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, and it all depends on how many days a week you do it and the actual scope of work itself. What I'm recommending to the council would be to bring each vendor in and have them, go over their proposal, and we decide which would make the most sense itself, and they would handle all the floors in the building. Now, the third floor is not built out in this building. The second floor, about 1/3 of the space is built, for which the tax collector is on the second floor, police and borough in the ground and first floors. So those are the items I have for discussion. There is more work to do on this building. I estimate that with making motions, getting approval to these items itself, hopefully we could move into this building along with the help of our code enforcement officer, Mr. Cannon, sometime in June or early July at the latest. We are indeed paying phone and internet connections at both buildings, for which we should not be doing, and we need to move on. So,
Council, any questions on these line items of the topics of discussion here? I have a couple questions. So, not ever buying a laptop myself, $3,500. Is that an exorbitant amount for a laptop?
That would be a higher end laptop, I would say. When you add a laptop, a docking station and monitors, I said up to $35,000, $4,000. That's that would be the high end. I think you could get it something that would be certainly acceptable for doing basic business work. With the two monitors, probably for much less, maybe $2,000.
And where would you purchase something like that at?
I would go back to Bill Mead, who does our desktop support. I know the current borough computers are using Windows 10, so we would want to follow the same operating system, have him support them the same way. So we would confer with Bill Mead on that. One other thing in reference that with the three groups, one of the things that Top Notch, like I said earlier, there's three groups. Shell's group, which works for the police. Telephonics does the general infrastructure, which would be our wireless, our voice, and they do some of the network stuff, but from a network security and desktop security piece, that's what Top Notch does for us today. There would be further consideration to add a new firewall to replace the existing one to protect the borough, and with the discussion last week on the insurance, the cyber insurance, we would look at that with the new borough manager itself to see if we could take advantage of that and enable things like what are called two-factor authentication. I spoke with Mr. Mead today, and he believes he can enable that for us.
So can we go over Tulip, what the cost of Tulip is going to be? Because this was sort of vaguely mentioned here.
Tulip was around $2,500, okay? So there's an increase. We can do the run back through, Maureen would like to comment. I do have the actual expenses for 2021, and I believe it was around $2,500 what Tulip provided.
And that is a yearly fee, or?
Yeah, yearly fee.
Okay. Ms. Fry, you have a question on that?
No, they just put something else.
Okay, I thought you said you did. I have a question on the telephone systems in the borough, so,
Sure.
in the new borough building. So I know that there's a couple offices right here to the right
there's one blank office sitting there that's empty and nothing's in it. Will there be a phone in that office?
I'm not sure on the exact phone count, but the new phone system has capacity to add a significant number of phones. It's the same manufacturers we have in the other building. It is a voice over IP phone system. So adding more telephones to the system should not be an issue.
Okay.
I could get the total count today and what the capacity can go up to if you'd like.
Because I'm wondering if one of the councilmen come into the building and they want to sit down and make some phone calls, you know, where are we going to do that from? And if there's an empty office in there, we could set that office up as a space for us to work out of, to come in, make some phone calls, not interrupt the other people in the other offices, have a little privacy so we could talk amongst there. So that was my thought for that office over here.
Usually done.
So I didn't know if that was planned or whatnot. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about. And when we mentioned videos, have we talked about video in this room?
I did. I spoke to them briefly. There's a couple different options. Whether we want to do live streaming itself, which means we would broadcast it live, or record it. We can record it with the digital video recorder, and they're actually it's called an NVR, network video recorder they call them now. Yeah, the system has capacity. With the cameras themselves, it can be set up many ways.
Voice activators, do they follow the people?
I'm not sure. He said no, that was not the case. I believe there's 2 cameras in this room, I was told, which I don't see.
One in that corner, one in that corner.
They're definitely not voice activated, I can tell you that. Because I asked that question specifically.
Right.
The answer was it was in the bid, okay? How well the requirements were flushed out, we can do that. I can certainly ask what we would like, and they can give us a bid, which I basically said we would have to. Also, this room, the microphones and the audio piece, they subbed out to another group. That was Telephonics also. There's also a TV over there, as you can see. I guess that's a TV. No, that's the actual video stuff, in plain words, which I haven't gotten into a lot of detail. That's why I can't answer it.
Just topics, these are things that we need to, discuss. Council, any questions on anything else? What was the number for the total quote? Was it less
when we first started?
Less than $10,000?
Totaling them up?
You're saying that's with Telephonics?
Telephonics was definitely less than that. If you just take the labor separate, the UPS, we'll just round up $6,000. We'll round up the point-to-point to $3,000, that makes $9,000. And then if you add the cameras to the room itself upstairs, that would be $2,000. And then our options, we chose at the time that we did pay Telephonics, we didn't do any additional video for this room.
Okay, so it's extra for this room.
Correct.
That's what I was trying to get at.
But I can get that put together. Probably the best thing would be right there to have a wide angle camera that would be at the back.
Either there or a side view that would get everyone, like maybe that camera, I don't know.
Yeah, we can. I can have them draw it up. We did the same thing with the chief and his men right there to place the cameras within the building. We can certainly, they have the drawings, we can put it together. If we want something that's 2 camera feeds and voice activated, we could do that. Today, I know that graciously we have a person that records. The real question is going to be, do we want it live? Do we want it live streamed, or do we want to have it recorded? And if you record it, you really don't want to do a lot of editing itself, because right now with one camera, you're just taking a shot and uploading the feed.
I think live streaming would be good.
Can do.
So, I think that would be good.
I can get you options for both.
Yep.
Live stream. Yeah. They
Would
can.
still be recorded.
It would be. It would be recorded as well.
Yeah, we can do that.
So going down these line items then here, Greg, are these things that could be expended by each line item?
Yeah, they look to be independent expenditures. First of all, we need to act on any of these tonight? Or can they wait till next month? I don't know what I'm asking.
My preference would be that we would act upon the things that would get us into the building itself. I believe that the approval for the laptop is critical for the new borough manager.
Sure.
The UPS and power strips are needed for the building to move in. The network link would allow us to, eliminate the school cost, but that could probably wait to the next meeting itself.
That's number
That may,
three.
I really wouldn't recommend that, but
Number 3.
I think the fourth item, the room upstairs, that could wait.
The videos.
Yeah,
cameras.
and the services themselves for the move-in, that we need to approve at least $1 fee at that time. It's all the time and material.
The migration, you mean?
Yeah, the migration over here.
Right.
The installation of power is absolutely needed, right there for the police department to move in, along with the Shells group. And we could have at the next meeting that we could have cleaning folks come in. I did send earlier, and I did talk to several of the cleaning groups right there, and I did put together a spreadsheet for the council. I can resend it itself so you can refresh yourself with what's there. Two items you could potentially wait on would be the new video cameras for the floor above itself and the cleaning, I think, would wait. Everything else, I would recommend that we motion to do those this evening.
And what was the Shales group?
The Shells group is the support agreement that we would like to start on June 1st.
What was the cost?
It's actually $7,920. Around the big thing.
Okay, that was what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, Greg.
Yeah, so Becky, when was this put on the website, these new items? Were they 24 hours or not?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they were, okay.
Yeah, I made sure.
I had it on the agenda.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't send the newest one out because I
Okay.
had changed it a couple of times.
All right, well, then that's
Just
fine.
rearranging it.
Yeah, I wanted to make these so that they were on the agenda and make it for topics of discussion so that we can move forward to this instead of just putting them all down as motions. I wanted to talk about them and go through them all and to see what we needed to do is exactly what we just did.
And that's fine, they're on here, so if you want to make a motion, you do it individually, and there has to be a price, a fixed price if you have it, or not to exceed price for each line item.
All right, so, Bill, I'd like you to take these motions and go through them now before that, is there any comments from the public on any of this? Or questions? Because we're going to ask to do that. Dave?
Mine's more of like not really a question. I guess I could wait to the end.
Well, speak up, Dave.
It was about the video stuff.
Okay.
So, because I have the statistics from the Munhall Borough video channel for the YouTube channel.
Okay.
This was taken today, so for those who don't know, I've been filming the meetings for the last 4 years, 5 years, whatever you want to say. So as of May 22, there's 115 videos on there that I put on there over the 4 years. It's accumulated 26,595 views. So that's a lot more than even I expected. 122 subscribers, so that's not too much, but it had 456 views in 28 days, watched 108.2 hours, and got 3 subs. So 25.2% of the views come from Facebook, 18.7% of the views from Google search, and 15.8% from Munhall Borough website. So I just wanted everyone to know, that's the viewers that we got over the last 4 years.
Okay.
Now moving forward, I'm just going to do the council meetings. I'm not doing both the workshop and the council meetings, just so everyone knows.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else?
Yeah, on the videos, at least with my cable station, I see a lot of public service. You can get some councils and have it so that it can actually be shown on someone's TV. I don't know how many seniors we have, but the ones that I know of don't necessarily use a computer. So is it possible to put this system at some future point so that we could actually show it? If we're going to live stream it, could it be kicked into one of the public service channels through the cable network?
We could look into it.
Okay.
We certainly could look into it.
And are any of these under, any of the line item numbers, are they under any kind of municipal contract, government contracts that are already covered? Like Telephonics, I know does a lot of work, but I didn't know if we're getting a better price than a contract price, or it's on contract.
Bill, any idea?
The work with Telephonics is not a contract itself. We do, for support, we do time and materials. We've asked them to provide support, what a support agreement would be, in addition to time and materials, to eliminate that. Right now, that the existing telephone system, we pay $95 an hour for work, plus materials, Monday through Friday. If we call them out on the weekend or at night, it's more money.
Right, but I mean, like, the police department can go on a government site and purchase a vehicle at an extremely reduced price.
Right.
I didn't know if Telephonics offered.
They have not.
Okay.
They're an authorized distributor, integrator of ubiquity equipment. All the network equipment we're talking here, two major brands they sell. They sell Ubiquity, which does Wi-Fi, Ethernet switching, the routing itself. The telephone system is from Ericsson. The police radios are, they work with Latimus itself. I'm not sure who, fire department does, but Latimus is pretty much the de facto standard. A lot of people used to use Staley's before that, locally at least.
And then going down to the, I know the cleaning proposal will be separate for later at some point, but do we have anything like a usually called indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity option where whatever we set up for cleaning, whether it's once a month or once a week, whatever, then like last month or earlier this month when we had the water come in, the flood, so to speak, you call them in and they clean up. Or can we, in Pennsylvania, is it legal to set up a contract so that you got your contract price for the work they're doing on a regular basis, but then if we call them in to clean up, they've already given us a price?
At this point, the previous borough manager asked for bids. We got bids from Coverall, which is a franchise model, General Cleaning, which is a local company, Mooney's Cleaning Service, which is another local company, and Service Master, which is another franchise model. We had monthly costs that range from the low end of $1,250 or $15,000 a year to a high end of $3,295 or $39,540. Some of them, all of them, the contract length was not defined with the exception of one. Two provided workman's compensation and liability, along with property damage itself. The cleaning areas were not well defined in 3 out of the 4. Number of days, weeks range from 3. We had 2 proposals with 3, 2 with 5. Some included cleaning materials, some did not. Storage space was not defined in 3 of the 4, where they required storage space on 1. Consumables like toilet paper, soap, hand towels itself. 1 of the 3 out of the 4 did not define them, One of them told us it was the borough cost. And then there was 3 out of the 4 did not define holiday schedules. 2 out of the 4, said what they were gonna do for staffing and supervision. And all of them, pretty much 3 out of 4 had additional costs and services available if you would like to pay for them. So these were all done in November of last year. I contacted them right there to find out, was their quotes still good? In a previous council meeting, they did come and present before I was on council.
Right.
My recommendation would to go back and, verify that if there is some sort of government, maybe discount right there, I think the new borough manager could look into that right there, see if we can take care of that and leverage any existing contracts, so.
Well, those, I don't think the cleaning would have government contracts, but.
It may or not, I have no idea.
Right, but what I was thinking was more, if you get prices preset ahead of time, like, if they are providing soap for a restroom, and instead of using 1 container, we use 2.
Oh, economies of scale.
Right, but also, sometimes it's on a separate line item for added items that may occur.
Sure.
But I don't know if it's legal here to do that, as to set it up ahead of time in the contract so that you're covered. Whether the price goes up for soap to $10 a container, they're still obligated to provide it at $4 or whatever, I don't know.
I can have the solicitor comment on that, but any contract that I've ever been involved with, unless you had a cost of living, clause in the contract, the vendor themselves were limited to what they had there in black and white. So unless they stipulated cost of living, so, Greg?
Yeah, we would have, I think what you're getting at is we would have a fixed price for these services that need to be well defined so we know what we're getting. And then you can have a clause that calls for extra services. So if there's a problem, we need to come in beyond, or over and above what the contract is. We have a set price, whether it's per hour, supplies, what the cost is, that can be added as a provision in the contract.
So, I agree, we bring them all in here and interview them again, and talk to them and make a decision, because we're definitely gonna need that. As far as emergency services and whatnot, we've been pretty lucky to have Extreme Restoration come. They come when we call them, and they're here, and that means a lot as well. Anything else? Go ahead.
So, nothing against Councilman Hanna going through and finding out about the cameras and stuff like that. Being on council for 2.5 years, I've been to every meeting, and I've never seen a meeting go without Mr. Dave Cassior filming it. He's never skipped a beat. He never actually came and asked for money. Now, I do remember, or payment. I do remember this subject coming up with the former council. And basically, it was like, no way, no way, no way, because it was never on video. Dave is the one who set this up. So when you get on and you look up Munhall Borough Council meeting and stuff like that, it's because of that young fellow right there. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with kicking him to the curb and putting something cold up in the ceiling that's going to film us when he has never skipped a beat yet, nor asked for money. Me, I would be willing to pay him something. There was a gentleman here, I don't know if you, buddy, you probably remember, who filmed it. It was hit and miss, hit and miss, hit and miss, hit and miss. Never skipped a beat. So that's all I need to say, and I hope that I have some backing from some more councilmen.
I agree.
I agree, Kevin.
He's the one who set up the video that people watch out there. That gentleman right there. That's it.
So that's well taken. But what about the other meetings? What about the meetings that we have, the planning commission? And what about all the other public meetings that are held? They should be filmed. They could be filmed. And I think there would be an asset to have that filmed. People could listen to them, not not taking anything away from the work that Dave has done. He's done a great job for us.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been on the planning commission for more than 3 terms. Term is 4, it's a 4-year term. And not once have I ever had anybody say that they wanted to videotape it. It's an at-will meeting. It doesn't happen every month, every week, it doesn't happen. It only happens when something arises. So as far as the planning commission, if you're interested in it or it involves you, show up for the meeting.
Well,
I can honestly tell you that I appreciate the work Dave has done. And even if we filmed the other one, they're not gonna film by themselves, okay? They're gonna need somebody that is perfectly aware how to operate the system.
right.
So we don't know how these things work itself. So regardless, we don't have someone in the borough, whether a volunteer or a staff member that has that capabilities. And when I asked the telephonic staff, I'm like, hey, who's gonna train us on this? We have them say specifically that each borough employee will get a user manual for the telephone system and training, okay? That was included. I will follow back with them in reference to this. Regardless if it's a single camera or an integrated system, it's not gonna film by itself.
Right.
So someone's gonna need.
And just to remind Mr. Onda, when we were on council and the borough manager would set the camera up and he would do the videos of the borough council meetings. That's how it originally started. And then when he left, Dave started filming.
Scott Stevens.
Well, that's right, it was Scott
Stevens.
You're right, you're correct. And we were told hands down that they didn't want to pay Dave any money.
That was then. That was then.
Well, that's
Now is
correct.
now.
Well, right. Then is then, now is now.
I think regardless, this is a little, I mean, I understand this technology, but, you know, if Dave would be willing to, I would welcome his input in reference to this, right there, since he does have the experience of filming, you know, this.
Right.
It's just a thought. I don't have an issue with what Councilman Ondo has to say in reference to it. It's not gonna film itself.
Right.
Would it be possible for, like, the planning commission meeting, if, I'm not against what we're doing right now either, it's just a question. Would it be possible for somebody from the planning commission that they have a meeting, so somebody would turn the camera on and off when they leave?
I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with the system, but I think it would be great if we could do that. And you know, it's not just that either. I mean, there's finance meetings that could be filmed. There's zoning hearing board meetings that could be filmed. If you look on other communities, they have that stuff. It's filmed.
I think it would be good to have it filmed.
I do too. I think there's a lot that could be filmed. Go ahead, Mike.
One more question. As you're talking about cameras, if I remember correctly, before we moved in and while they were still planning, they were saying that the upstairs area would be an overflow room, and they would have a camera here so they could be seen upstairs or somewhere else in the building. Do we have that in mind for somewhere in the future? Are connections available, or I don't know, but
I remember that topic being spoken about.
I mean, granted, like
Whether or
tonight,
not they wired it for that, I have no idea. And we could discuss that, but you know, that can all be discussed through the progress of the building.
Yeah, just to add previously, what we did put on hold was camera system for council chambers, telephonics. It was one 4-channel network video recording in the borough manager's office and 4 megapixel cameras in the council chambers for the purpose of recording council meetings. What wasn't discussed right there, what they told me was this was not live streamed. This would just need to be recorded, and then from there it would need to be uploaded to our YouTube channel itself. There wasn't any real discussion on the placement of cameras or voice activation of them. In a typical advanced video system, you will have, which they probably will be integrating these into the camera system itself, or they would use the microphones off the cameras, which would be much easier. But where you run into things is, I don't know how it would work when you have an audience back there, because when if the placement of the camera, it could pan, and if these things are indeed, I don't know their field of view, whether like 120 degrees or 360, so the potential exists if someone in the back row would speak, you have the wrong camera, it's gonna look at the person in the back row.
So, and that's another thing, if they're going to record them, then someone needs to edit all that and download it and put it on the channel. So there still doesn't happen by itself. So let's move on, unless someone else.
Is this a projector and is that the screen that would be used for?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I think it is.
Yes.
But I can't see it from
I
here.
know, none of you will be able to see
No.
it. If it drops down, it'll cover you.
Technically, what we should do, in reference to that, we could have it shoot the feed for the audience, and then we could put a monitor on the back wall so the council can see if you want to. I mean, again,
A mirror might work too.
a mirror, yeah, just gotta translate one direction or the other. How's that?
So let's go down this list and put on for a motion, and I'm gonna ask that we do the motions now, so we don't have to do it twice. Is that okay, Greg?
Yes.
So, and I'm gonna ask you to read them, Bill, because you have the numbers there in front of you, not to exceed numbers. So, would you start with, we're gonna do them each individually, right, Greg?
Yes.
We're gonna do each individually with a price not to exceed, and we'll have an individual roll call vote. So Becky, you're gonna take the roll call vote, we'll do it individually, and we'll go down the line. So Bill, please start.
All right, first motion. Motion to purchase a new laptop and accessories for the Borough Manager, not to exceed $3,500. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay. So all in favor, so that passes. All right, go ahead, Bill. No, we're not, well, we could do a roll call. You want to do it? I did say it.
You don't really need one if
If
everybody's.
we're all in favor.
I mean,
If there's
I
one
did say it.
specific that you say you want,
Looking at you
thank
like-
you.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, I'm just looking to make sure
not
I'm
that
doing it whatever way you
experienced
want.
at this yet. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Motion to purchase a new uninterruptible power supply system and power distribution units for 1860 West Street data closets from Telephonics, not to exceed $6,000.
Question.
Do we need this?
Yes. If we would like our telephone system to stay up during an electrical, the generator itself, as you well know, will take anywhere from 7 to 10 seconds to kick off. We would lose that itself. Now, we have verified with the borough engineer, Colin Lampard, that there are generator outlets in the data closets themselves. So the idea would be not to lose power. The 1900 West Street, the telephone system, has UPSs also, which we just had the batteries replaced in those, right there. They are much smaller in size than what we need for the closets here. Okay. Can I have a second?
Second. Okay, do we want to, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Go ahead, are we going to go down to, or we're going to skip the two here, network infrastructure and new video cameras for today?
I would like to do the next one right there with,
Telephonics.
well, with motion to purchase and create a new network wireless link from 1900 West Street to 1860 West Street to support the fire department connectivity cost. $3,000. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Any nays? Motion passes. Not to exceed $3,000. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Motion to get the professional services from Telephonics, Shells Group, and Tots.net required for the migration of services from 1900 West Street to 1860 West Street within the next 2 months, not to exceed $10,000. Can I have a motion?
You made a motion.
Second, excuse me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Next motion. Motion to install power connections to the service cubicles in the police department by 5 facility services at 1860 West Street, not to exceed $5,000. Can I have a second?
Second.
Can I ask one question?
Certainly.
Just to clarify, because the 1860 West Street, that's this building?
Correct.
Okay, okay. Yes.
We're starting to use the addresses just instead of calling it the new borough.
Correct.
But wait, I want to clarify, because I thought we named Raymond Bodner Way so that the building was going to be. Is that not correct? Because we're not facing West Street. That's what I'm asking.
Can I
Is
say
it
something
Raymond
with that?
Bodner Way?
Go ahead.
Joe had gotten to a place where it is now at the county. If you look us up on the county website, it says Raymond Bodner Way. So this would be one Raymond Bodner Way, and there was a plan to make the Public Works building 2 Raymond Bodner Way. I don't know where that is as far as the street being changed and all of that, and how you change the address for this building. I'm not sure what that process is, but that's where we were. That's why I'm not getting everybody business cards, because I don't want to waste the money to get 1860 put on them and then have to change them again.
Becky,
So.
that's what I thought. I mean, at first, if you remember, it was 1800.
Yeah, it was
West Street.
1800, then it was 1860.
1860 West Street.
Yeah.
Then it went to, we're on Raymond Bodner Way.
Yeah.
Nowhere on any of these things do you see
Raymond
this
Bodner.
building listed as Raymond Bodner.
Correct.
And this man's put in buku hours to get all this information. And being that we sign checks every Tuesday, I'm telling you, you don't know if you're in that building on West Street, this building on West Street. Nobody has Raymond Bodner Way, and I keep thinking, are we waiting until we get in this building?
Right, I don't know what the process is to change it with the post office.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes.
I've been involved in the address of this facility and next door for a few years, and now our new police chief is smack dab in the middle of it. You would not believe the things that are affected by changing the address to 1860 West Street already. They involved all of our run cards, all of their run cards, the post office, the county got involved. There was all sorts of stuff that had to be done. It was unbelievable, okay, just to get this corrected. And there's the building next door, which is a little bit of that's in Munhall. So that 1800 West Street, which is the hospital, some of that is actually in Munhall. So all this was packaged together, and it was being worked on by the last borough manager and the county and all this stuff. And I know you already called me once on it. So just if you keep it 1860 West Street, and call the front of the building, that stuff's basically already done. If you're going to change it to Raymond Bodner Way, it all has to be redone again. But
My mistake. On the county website, I've seen it listed as both, but on the county website itself, it listed as 1 Raymond Bodner Way, Homestead, Pennsylvania, 15120.
I'm interested, that's interesting to me because we were talking about it 3 weeks ago.
So
I'll
for,
show you. My wife got it.
so for tonight's purposes, we're gonna call it 1860 West Street. But for future purposes, I think we should change it to 1 Raymond Bodner Way. That was the purpose of naming the street out there, and that was the intent of the last council to do that. Anyone, we can discuss that later, but I think we should do that.
I'm just saying for insurance purposes and all contracts that Bill's trying to work on, you know, I think you need to know which address we're in.
Well, I think Bill's been using 1860 West Street, and
I've heard it called both.
Yeah.
so let's stick with 1860 West Street for right now, and then we'll confirm with the county, and I'll have the chief and the fire chief can run this. Bill doesn't need to do this.
Bill doesn't care about the address.
Right. But someone has and does, so what's council feel? What do you want to call it? Go ahead.
Last week, when you guys were talking about paving this, Colin brought something up about saying how the state got involved with naming this. So maybe that needs checked out too, but he did bring that up.
Okay.
At the workshop. He said he said he was surprised, I believe, how they even ended up making it
A road.
So I
Right.
don't know if that could get links to the state, to the county, to the borough, so.
So again, for purposes today and now, we're gonna go with 1860, and then we'll look into further information on changing it. If we need to change it, or if it's already been changed, because we don't know. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, legally, for right now, can you put both addresses on a contract? That way you're covered if it's a county versus a state versus federal.
I think we're overcomplicating things.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It doesn't matter, the contract's signed by a borough official, what address is on there is irrelevant.
Okay.
All right. So, did you go through all of them?
No.
We need a vote on that one.
We need a vote on that.
We need a vote, that's right. Rini had a question. Any more questions there, Rini?
No.
Okay.
We need a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously.
One last thing. Motion for the Shells Group to provide IT support to the police department, not to exceed $8,000 per year, via the contract itself.
I second that motion. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
Question,
Question?
Rini, do we have, our finances okay to do all this stuff?
I will give you a finance report, Mr. Budadian, but I will tell you, there were 50 checks today, okay? And thank God Katie Vines Clark, Becky can attest to this, that the MEIT payment is due the 20th. Today is the 17th, okay? Had she not caught it, I don't know what would happen, but that was a healthy sum of money. We need the tax money coming in. And I was going to tell you all that right now we stand at 700, I have the report, $770,000, 248.11 cents. I'm just saying, there are some big bills coming in. If you want me to tell you now, I can. If you want me to wait for the finance, I can.
No.
Mr. President?
I would want you to tell us now, because we're not going to go through finance. We already had the finance, so certainly speak.
No, you didn't have the issue, that was what just read.
Oh, okay, well, good then,
Okay.
because it's not on our agenda this
Can I make one comment before I do that?
Yes.
In reference to all these motions, in talking
We can add those two resolutions that you made
to the
today.
chief,
Okay, we need to get those on too.
some of this can be paid out of forfeiture, okay?
working on that now. Whatever we can pay, I will
Right, so,
use that money.
obviously, the borough manager's laptop would not be, but, you know, we've agreed in principle that the second half does payment with, was already passed, the telephonics when they finish the original work, which they haven't yet. But the UPS, the wireless link, that's one's a little bit debatable. You know, the move-in, right there, some of that, those professional fees, since they involve actually more police computers than anything else.
Right.
That makes complete sense.
And the Shells group?
And the Shells group would be theirs. It's a, whether that could be done out of forfeiture money, it was done out of police expenses last year in the police budget, I looked that up. We know that installation of the electrical cannot be covered right there, so that definitely would go into the borough. But, you know, we do still have some money in multiple places that would be available, you know, for that, beside the general fund.
Chief Foley just mentioned that Shields group, where they not to exceed 8,000, they just said it's not in the police budget.
No, it is in the police budget, we can't use the forfeiture.
Forfeiture money.
Correct.
Okay.
We knew that.
Okay.
From the previous meeting, and we had, you know, the real question was, which we agreed to in principle, when we did the first motion for the essentially $30,000. It was a motion several months ago that the borough paid that first 50% and police would do the other 50. Okay, so as long as we're not breaking any rules, right there, I think we'll be fine. And you know, working with the chief, I think we feel pretty confident to the letter of the law. We can we'll find as much as we can on forfeiture.
I can finish my little report by saying to you all that there are 3 big bills. Donna McCurry, our tax collector, said that she estimated in the month of April 1st, April 30th, we would get about 800,000. She actually did turn in 775,000, 567.49. This month of May, to get the 2% discount, okay, she estimated that we would get, God willing, $2 million. And that's if everybody pays. But there's a lot of people hurting right now, so, you know, she can only say what she's happened in the past. To say 2 million sounds wonderful. However, we owe the library $125,000, that's the lease. By July 1st, we owe $261,375 for the Steel Rivers Hall. And then talking Brentwood Bank, by July 1st, we owe $850,000. People, if we get the 2 million in, if we get the 2 million in for the taxes, those 3 figures total over $1 million. I'm just, you know, our payroll every two weeks is $140,000, a month $280,000. What about, there's expenses, you know. We're trying our very best to keep them down.
Why isn't the COG a monthly payment instead of 1 month?
The COG, it's not a payment to the COG, it's a payment to the TIF maintenance agreement for the road down
At
at
the waterfront.
the
But why
waterfront.
why isn't that set up as a monthly or quarterly payment instead of 1 month?
I don't know.
I'm sure they take our money.
I'm sure we could send them a check and they would take it.
Even with the library, you could probably change that to quarterly.
We could, I'm sure we could. Last year, we didn't pay them. The prior year, we had to pay $250,000 last year. We didn't pay them the prior year.
I mean, that's free money to them, so you should set up when you want to pay them.
Agreed.
I think one of the other things, so at this point, we know that the estimated real estate tax that Donna said to us originally was $4.5 million. Okay? So if it just seems, the number seems a little low than what she has. What I think we should do, Maureen, is ask her, you know, we did get those numbers from last year when it came in?
Last year.
Right.
She gives us a monthly report, so by the 30th of the month, we'll get the report for this month. She did just hand me a paper, that little boy that represented her right
Right.
here. So this is updated till yesterday.
Yeah,
or
what
today.
she told me was that all the title companies that were paid by the end of May to get the 2% discount. So she said by the end, May itself, we should see a rather large hit. So basically, what she's saying, if we total this today and compare it to last year, I think we could do that. Okay, and, you know, you and I could work on that. She's saying here, even looking at the top, that, look at this, she's saying that balance collectible end of the period, if I'm reading this right, it's saying 3.4 million, which means that to date, we've collected about 1.2 million approximately.
That's what she said.
So 3.4 plus, I think the other thing, major source besides the wage tax, some of the other tax would be the ARPA, right there, that payment, right, itself. So, so to answer Rich's question in a very long-winded way, I think it's a matter of talking to Brentwood Bank in reference to the bridge loan and how that relates to the grant money for the building, which we discussed in the working meeting, along with the paving there. So we have to pay, we essentially have paid up front to get reimbursement for the grant for this building, which is, you know, and I know every Friday there is a meeting, and Becky, if you'd like to, I know you and I believe Dave also participate along with Colin and Jamie.
Yes.
And there's the other piece we gotta pay up front in reference to the paving, so Dave Cannon and I had some discussions briefly last Friday in reference to would we meet the actual ADA requirements from the street, and I'm not sure if Dave had a chance to take a look at that, but I know that he had to look into that right there, and that was around the conversation if we didn't do the paving. And, you know, he and I'm sure I'm screwing it up, what I'm saying right now, so Dave can clarify, because he's the subject matter expert in INY on that, with occupancy and everything else. But, I think it is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and I would say when is now, if you want to move into this building.
Right.
We're supposed to get bids on that in the last meeting.
On the paving.
We have to issue.
You didn't issue it yet? I thought we were issuing the last, at the last meeting, I thought we were reading it.
Let me look at my notes.
This way, if we get the bids, then we'd be ahead of the game
Right.
for once.
I don't think I have enough paper.
Killing trees in Munhall.
Killing trees.
Mr. Youngkins, I don't know if it was brought last meeting or workshop session.
We might have a workshop.
Yeah, I think so.
It was the workshop meeting.
Yeah, it was
I
the
thought
workshop.
we really put it out for bids.
Right. Well, we talked about that, we definitely talked about that with the parking projects. That definitely did there.
And then we spoke about Manhole Borough way too.
We did. We talked about Westfield rentals, we talked about the insurance agent, new building. Right there, we talked a little about the extreme restoration and the ADA parking in the lower lot, plus there, the paving. The paving project, DCED, 300K, we don't have to match anything. It's under the building, would be at cost. From West Street to Public Works, we must pay up front. Call in to email motion to advertise bid. Expiration we were supposed to, so why don't we get clarification on that?
Right.
Yeah, I think I had that we were waiting for authorization from the borough. I talked to Colin.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I had that we were waiting for authorization from the borough for us to move forward with Raymond Butler.
To get the bids?
Yeah, we were waiting to, for the determination on what all sections wanted paved based on what he updated about what was eligible for the grant or not. That was what I talked about with him yesterday. If I need to clarify with him tomorrow, I can do that, but that's the update that I have.
Could we just do a motion to authorize Hatch to do, create drawings, create bid documents to move forward? I think we could do that.
Do we need 24-hour unanimously?
No, you're not spending any money. You can authorize them to proceed tonight if you want to.
Can we do that?
You said we can. Said we can.
Do we need a motion on it?
Yes.
So before we move down to that, the solicitor has a couple motions that we need to bring in first. And then we'll add that to our list of motions. We'll put in motion number, we'll make it the last motion, motion number 5, I guess it will be. Motion number 5 to put out for bid the paving of Raymond Bodner Way. Is that correct? Or that's what we're gonna call. I don't want to get into that conversation again. Yes. All right, so Greg has a couple other things that he'd like to talk first about, and then we'll talk about that, and then we'll get the rest of the voting.
Thank you. I received notice, I think recently, from Jackie Coles, the manager of our sewer authority, that 2 projects, property owners need sewer tapping. So that's something she deals with, they deal with, and generally we're not involved in. They oversee that. However, in this case, because of the size of the projects, they have to submit a sewage module plans to the DEP. And the DEP requires that we adopt the plan as part of our official sewage facilities plan. So these projects are already going forward. 2 of them, the 2 are the Checkers and Rally's Restaurant, which is on East 8th Avenue and Harrison Street, and the other is the Plate Mill Limited Partnership, which is on East Waterfront Drive at the waterfront. So there are 2 resolutions. She provided me the information. I finalized them today and sent them to Becky. And we need a motion to approve the resolution for plan revision for new land development. We can do these together for the Checkers and Rally's Restaurant and also for the Plate Mill LP, if council desires.
So we need a motion.
Yes.
No motion.
We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. These will have to be signed. Actually, I think they were signed by you, Becky, is the way the
Yes.
form was. So
Yeah, I have
Becky
them
will
here.
sign those. Just turn them over to Jackie.
Okay, I
and
will.
then she'll take it from there.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so I wanted to recap a couple things, and I'm glad we started talking about recapping, because that's what we were just speaking about. So Trotman Field and Vine Street, where we were waiting back for the engineer, I believe, to talk about projects down there. Is that how we left it with him to give us some sort of direction on what we want to do with those projects, both Vine Street and Troutman Field, for the grants that we've already been awarded. So I'm not sure. Do you have any information from your firm?
So the update that I have is that since the last council meeting, there was a meeting, a virtual meeting with the state, with Beth Hilterbrand, regarding the project on April 28th. And the state recommended having the project complete by the end of 2022, with 2023 early construction targets. And that the plans were discussed at the workshop, I believe last week or
Right.
2 weeks ago. And there was a cost proposal requested, and I think Collins is working on that.
Okay. Can you go over what you just said? Because I sort of didn't understand what you said.
Sure.
The dates?
So there was a meeting with the state on April 28th. And that meeting should have been followed up with at the workshop. I was not at the workshop, so I have to assume that Colin discussed that, and that there's a cost estimate, a final cost estimate being prepared. But that's the only update.
And you said that the dates that the project was due?
They were targeting to have, I think, the plans and everything done 2022.
Okay.
And then 2023, early 2023 to
Final.
target starting the actual construction project.
So we're still waiting.
Yes.
Okay. So then, the second thing was parking permits in the library area, which was a topic last week, the workshop. Chief, any more thought or
If
anything
you
on
look
that?
in your packets, I put together something.
Okay.
I did an aerial photo of the area, and all the roads in red is where people could park that wouldn't be in front of a house. And then on the first page, it's all the areas where they could park on what side of the street.
Do we know, like, how many, alright, it's really, do we know how many homes would qualify for the parking permit out there yet? I think before we take the next step on this sometimes, Mr. President, I think we need to call some type of meeting together with, like,
The residents.
and the library too, to, we can see how they
We're just getting to the page here with the red marks on it, so we're a little behind you guys over there. So the red is where people
Is where you could park that wouldn't affect the residents.
would be able to park.
Yes.
All right, got it. Okay.
Are we talking in alleys?
No, you're not allowed to park in alleys. Just the main roads.
I agree with you, Mayor. I think we should advertise a meeting with the public, the residents in the area, and post it down there and have a public meeting. Is that how you would properly do something like that, Greg? So we'll post that area down there, and what scope of blocks do we want to post? I mean, I think 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Andrew and Martha.
Yeah.
And what's that one that goes down from Park Square here? Solid.
That's more, Louise.
No, the weeds on the other side. This is the weeds
Yeah,
here.
they're saying Louise, Margaret.
And then I also think that we should look at areas down there that we could maybe do a shuttle system and talk with the Carnegie Library about a shuttle for their events. That might help a lot if they could get some sort of a lease agreement for parking down there and do their shuttles. That might cure the whole problem down there, to be honest with you. But parking down there, you know, I think we have to have a meeting.
I do too.
So, council, when would you all like to have a meeting on this? And how will we go about doing that, Greg? We have to announce a meeting.
Well, if you're gonna have a quorum of council, it needs to be advertised at any meeting, and I think posting is a good idea, so you notify the affected residents to come and voice their opinions.
So would you all like to do this in June?
I have another point to bring up. If you're gonna include concerts at the library, that St. Michael's Church turned into a concert hall also. So if you're gonna do permits for people on 10th for the library, you're gonna open up a can of worms that the 9th Avenue's gonna want too for the concert there.
I
don't know how many they have there. But
they don't have a lot there, and they don't have a lot of crowds, but I think that we do the permits in that area anyway for residential parking. And if they have an event, then maybe they can indeed have an agreement as well.
Because I know, it was had been prior to the pandemic. I just went down there to go down to Rite Aid, and the street was blocked off because there was a concert that night. They had tents right in front of St. Michael's Church. So that impacts it too. So you may end up having people, you know, from both ends coming to a public meeting and bringing up both. That's all I'm just
Well,
throwing that
I can
out.
tell you that the people from the western side there, from the library, which is where that area is, where you're talking St. Michael's, they're affected as well by both. They're gonna be affected by both.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just limit the parking leasing with just the library. I think we could ask this other, I'm not sure the entity.
It's called This Is Red.
This is Red, you're correct, that is what it is. We can contact them and ask them to come to a meeting as well. To the same meeting, actually. That's a great point, thank you. So, again, do we want to do this in June? This is May. You want to do it?
I think the very beginning of June or sooner. Do we have to go through code enforcement at all? Is the
No,
first
we
step
need,
through us or through-
it's up to council. This is council's decision, not code enforcement. This is council's choice. If we do it in June, you want to do it this first week in June? No, that's pretty quickly. You do it the second week in June? You give us some time, we can post it, have it posted for, 10 days before the meeting, 10, 12 days? Or do you want to do it a month and put it posted a month before? Yeah, we should advertise it in the paper. I think if we do it quickly, it doesn't get out there. It's not as good. I think we should slowly put this out there that we're gonna have a meeting and have it, so I think at the end of June would be the earliest.
Yeah.
Where would you have this meeting?
Here, or at the library.
Why not at the library?
We could. Could have it at the library. We'd have to speak with them first. I don't think where it's held at matters. I think it would be good to have it there. I'm not opposed to that.
I'm just saying the people are closer to the library.
Sure. A lot of them could walk. So we need to contact the library, and I'll do that tomorrow. I'll make a phone call and do that. I want to talk with Carol anyway.
Mr. President, I also put in a copy of the ordinance for all the council to look at.
Chief, can you send me that information?
Yeah. I can give you a copy, I have an extra.
This is the ordinance here?
Yes.
So there are 4 designated areas already.
Yes.
Can we have an estimate on, I guess, a good guess on how many people will be in the red area?
Yeah, that's where they could park it and wouldn't affect the
Right.
residents, but it's a decent amount of
Okay.
parking.
Okay.
You know, you're still, I think we're gonna have to lay on the conservative side rather than the liberal side on this, because this can cause a lot of problems throughout with, resident parking, for changing a lot. What are residents gonna say, that live in other areas? Well, we got it here, now we want it here.
We have a precedence already, so.
Right.
If we open this up, we should expect more people
Absolutely.
to.
If you open it up, you're
Part
gonna
of
get
the-
more and more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm not saying we shouldn't open it up, I'm just saying,
Right.
we gotta be very, very conservative on this, more than liberal, I think.
Well, depends on where you live. Depends on where you live. So let's make a target date for this. Let me go mark this on my sheet here. We're gonna make a target date for the end of June or the beginning of July. Targeting. Target date. And I will talk to Code Red, and I will talk to the library. And start conversation with them. Okay?
How about if I put an article in the Valley Mirror?
We're gonna put an ad, in the Valley Mirror stating that. Let's get our contacts in first and speak, and we can talk and see about a date, and let's see, and then we can put an ad in the paper.
Okay.
All right? And that way, it won't be so quick, and then, we can certainly start talking to people down in the neighborhoods, all right? That will be good. We've already talked about occupancy for 1860 West Street and an open house. I think once we get fully in here, I think we need to have an open house for the public to come and visit the new building. And occupancy, we're still pending. We're still pending getting these steps that we're talking about in here done. Chief, how are you on occupying?
I'm sorry, could you?
How are you on occupying the move over to here? What do you anticipate?
Most of the stuff we have to move on our own. So if we can just get a couple pickup trucks from the street department, we should be okay.
No, we're still waiting on one or two items, I think, we were waiting for, correct?
Yeah, we were waiting for the 911 call boxes and they're installed.
We have them?
Yeah.
Oh, good, I wasn't aware that we had them.
We have cubicles in the squad room and the sergeant's room that have no power to them, so we can't connect our computers.
Okay.
That was a motion.
That's in the motion that we're working on, right?
Right.
And honestly, do we need that to move in? Those?
We wouldn't be able to use our computers.
Any of the computers? Although we need that to move in. Okay.
I think there's one other thing that we need is that the cameras, chief, will be moved from which we'll do at the time.
Yes.
Right, we're taking cameras and moving them here.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so,
Can I just mention one thing? In today's checks, the final payment to Franjo of $21,762.50 is included. How do you feel about paying him when we're not done? If we're not in this building, should we pay him final payment?
I think that we had to pay him to get,
The grant.
there was
The
something.
grant.
The grant.
$1 million
We had to pay
grant.
him to
Yeah,
apply for
we
the
gotta
grant,
pay.
that's
Okay.
correct. So we had to have that payment done.
Okay.
And certainly, if there's anything else that needs to be dealt with, just because we pay them doesn't mean that they can't come back and do something. I mean, there's many a times I go back to someone's house and do something for someone. Okay?
It's called service.
Right. Anyone else have any other public comments for anything on consideration that we're gonna vote on?
Yeah, I got something I'd like to bring up.
Okay?
I'd like to thank Scott McCullough from the street department for, I stopped over the barn the other day, and I had mentioned about the flags and stuff for our memorial over here. They sort of expedited the job. They put new, on all the 5 flagpoles, they put new halyards up, and they also went out and they bought new flags for it. It looks really good, so I'd like to thank them for doing what they're doing. Another thing, Mr. McCall, I'd like to bring up too is, I know I stop over there often enough, and I hear it from everybody, and I've brought it up. This isn't the first time I've brought it up, probably won't be the last time. Could you please tell me how many people you feel you are shy?
3 or 4.
Okay, and we're losing another one, aren't we?
Yeah, sometime maybe in July.
So we're talking
August.
4 or 5, and as of right now, we had one of our borough employees, his mother had passed away, and he'll probably be off for whatever amount of time. So you're saying 4 to 5 guys?
Yeah, I would say so. Because if we don't have certain people come, it's hard to do our job, you know what I mean, on important things, you know what I mean? So.
Okay, like I said, this isn't the first time I've brought this up, and so, but anyway, thank you for doing the flags for us, thank you.
Can I ask a question to,
Certainly.
in reference to Public Works? There are 2 things. In the last meeting, we discussed Vine Street and Trop and Wood Hill about the actual shape of the equipment, the playground equipment. And I know, Dave, you were part of that conversation too. Did Public Works get a chance to go up and take a look at the equipment? There were some safety concerns. We were asked that if we could advise you.
With Trowman and Vine and all that,
Yep.
I think the trees need taken care of before they figure on doing the playground site again, because they are gonna fall again.
We've looked at them.
They're pretty bad, I mean.
We know that.
And, no, I mean, basically, I mean, we put, mulch around what we have new on, ones are still good right now, but other than that, we're just waiting on the other stuff to get taken care of for us to do anything else.
Well, there was a safety concern around the playground equipment. That was, we discussed, and I realize you weren't at the last meeting, at the workshop meeting. So we discussed the $221,000 matching grant, and then Rick brought up the fact, could we get reimbursed for doing the things, mulch and things like that, in which Jamie Glasser responded and said, essentially, no. And then what we asked, then there were some questions that Councilman Hondo brought up about the safety of some of the playground equipment up at Wood Hill. So my question is, I have 2 questions actually, but did anybody get a chance to look at the playground equipment?
Wood Hill, we went up, we was in a process, we had to get a price on one part of the playground set, and nothing was done. You know what I mean? We know what we needed, but we never got an answer.
Can we get it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's gonna cost. At the time, it was $2,500, and that was just basically a straight piece, because it's gone.
Wow.
The tunnel.
The tunnel, what we did board it up, and not a week late, but a week later, kids ripped it out, kicked it down, and we went back up and tried to do it a different way, and it still happened again. But we caution taped that section off, but for it to be good, we gotta get
We need that part.
Get that tunnel.
Somebody's gonna get hurt, a little kid's gonna get hurt on that jungle gym.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Oh, yeah, I mean.
It's just when.
Yeah.
The second question in reference to being down 4 staff members, if not more, or the folks that aren't, how are we filling that in? Are we paying them on overtime to get work done, or is everybody putting in 40 and?
Yeah, that's all we're doing. I mean, it's our 6 to 2. No, it's just that for us to move on to like fixing up catch basins and other stuff, we just don't have the people. I mean, there's a couple guys retired, one guy went on disability. You're talking possible 3 to 4 guys in the last couple of years, and we never replaced them. And then, like I said, when guys don't show, you gotta swap guys on garbage and recycling, and that takes people away from, you know, the street department to do the other, you know, cutting grass, you know, patching holes, doing catch basin work and other things. When you don't have it, you know.
Yeah, and we had a previous discussion, similar on some staffing woes.
Yeah, I mean, it's still there, but, I mean, we just gotta do what we gotta do right now.
Right.
We didn't hire no summer help this year, did we?
It's not been a topic yet. No, as far as I know, no.
If we looked at the first 3 months of the year, okay, that if we did the run rate, what we spent in 2021 versus 2022, we were over budget itself. But I don't know how many times we were called out, to be fair, in the first 3 months of 2021 versus 22. So we know that the proposed budgets since Public Works and Police and to a fair extent administration were not participative. They did not participate in the proposed budget. So the proposed budget without feedback from those departments is not much of a budget. So the only thing we could run it against is what we spent the previous year. So we know there's a lot of different variables, weather, right there, work and other things. So my suggestion to Councilman Youngkins and Councilman Londo, since, you know, they're part of, you know, the Public Works Committee, would be to sit down and talk about that, along with, you know, when we hire a new borough manager, is to see where we are budget-wise, along with our ability to do work right there. And if there is, you know, a attendance problem, it would seem, that's affecting everything else, then I think that's gonna need to be addressed, you know, obviously within the contract, if, you know, however we do that. But that would be my suggestion.
Oh, I agree.
Are we in favor of getting summer help?
We didn't even talk about it.
Shouldn't have been done already.
I mean, we should have already spoken about that.
Yeah, I mean, the kids are out of school in a week already.
Scott, would you rather have summer help or at least one or two full-time guys?
Full-time guys. It's not that against the summer help, there's just like certain things they, you know.
They can't do.
If they're 18 and older, and then they could probably do a little bit more, but,
If they're under, we have to run the checks for everybody that's gonna work.
Okay.
but yeah, I would say full-time guys, if they get.
We probably missed the boat on summer help.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, usually we used to take care of it like in March. I
Because
think
we
it was
would
like
get
March.
college kids.
Like March,
We
April,
would
we
get
let
college
them know.
kids coming in sometime in May.
Yeah, right, it all depends on their
So,
school.
I mean, it's, I'm sure most of those kids have found stuff. And, I mean, I'm not the high school kids were bad, but the college kids are some of our better pro workers because they can do more. They were over 18.
And believe me, I mean, it helps because, you know, we got guys that go on vacation, you know, during the summer, so we need people, but eventually they go back to school.
And that's starting, the vacations are actually gonna start
Yeah,
next month.
they're gonna, actually, they started this week, so it's gonna go on, you know, a couple guys here and there, you know, I mean, a couple guys a week, so. And that changes everything.
Well, most colleges are out already.
Right.
Yeah.
We missed the boat.
So,
Right,
I
they're
don't,
done.
I don't think there's a lot of potential there. I mean, if you're coming out of college now, I mean, you know, if you graduate different, but if you're just summer vacation, right there, I would think you would already have something lined up. I mean, the high school kids, I guess the question would be, I mean, it would be a short-term fix
Yeah.
for kids over 18 that could assist with, you know, is like, it's raining a lot, I'm sure cutting the grass is not being a, I know what I do at my house.
There's other stuff, I mean, we clean up stuff, you know what I mean, not being in the rain, but then again, you only got them for 8 to 10 weeks. And then we're gonna go right back into where we're at again, once they go, and then If we don't get, if we don't have 2 full-time people, we're gonna go right back into, and then you get into the winter, and then you got your snow, and, you know, what I mean, it's a no-win situation right
So
now.
is there anything else that you'd like to bring up from this side of the desk over here as far as adding to the meeting?
The only other comment that I had was about the paving, not related to Raymond Bodnar Way, but just the general paving for the borough. That it was my understanding that that was also awaiting direction from the borough or council about which roads specifically we wanted to do and when we wanted to get that rolling as well, to try to make sure that, you know, that gets bid out in the summer months. That was the only
Well, on that subject, I think we need to look back and see, you know, what is going to be done and when and who is going to do it as far as water companies and utility companies, because they've got a lot of the streets cut up pretty terribly. We need to get a comprehensive list of what they're going to do, and we need to pressure them a little bit this year as to getting them done, you know, in a workmanlike manner instead of waiting until a year to do them. And then it's going to be a financial decision how many streets we can and can't do. So
I think that's a great thing, because like, well, Ravine Street, you know, we paved it, and 4 or 5 years later, they came back and tore the thing up.
Right.
We go to both and say, well, go to both and say, hey, what's your next 3 years? Because I'm sure they have a plan.
Right.
And for the next 3 years, what are you going to be tearing up? Because you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to tear up a road now,
Right.
pave it, and then 2 years later.
Right.
And over the years, previous years, we did, the water company and gas company was gonna work with us and let us know they were coming through.
And that fell to the side.
Yeah, that they didn't do what
They
they
did that once on Roberta Drive.
There's quite a few streets that we paved, and they came right back and did it again, so.
Well, I think once we move forward with the borough manager, we can maybe have phone calls made and things could be done that way. And we can start really getting back into a professional type of way things are done.
And just to let you know, some of the gas companies now, some of the streets they tore up, and even the water company, they're pretty much streets that, it's a plus on for
Our
us,
side.
because they did need paved.
Right.
So they will get it, but
Right.
just when, with the tap-ins and all that, so.
If I could, Scott, could you give me a list, like in your travels? Write down what the gas company, whoever tore up, and give me a list.
Dave usually is the person that handles that.
Dave?
No, public works usually.
Yeah, I mean, we could get that, we even when there's water breaks or whatever, I mean,
cool.
We got connections to find out what they're gonna do, when they're gonna do, and stuff like that too.
Nice. Thank you.
We had budget, in the proposed budget, there was $400,000 set aside for paving. And, you know, Supervisor Bicey came and showed us some pictures in a previous meeting.
And me and Ms. Fry went around and wrote around and looked at all that. And we wrote down notes of what we thought could wait and what couldn't wait.
Okay.
So I'll get that to you.
Okay.
Some of our alleys are mentioned. I did mention about Hilltop and Ellsworth is bad. I mean, Dave and
Well, I can tell you about Ellsworth.
You know.
Me and Scott already talked about it.
I mean, I talked to Colin about, for you to do it right, you're talking over $1 million or more, because they gotta take all the concrete out. I've been around asphalt for a long time. I worked for a company before I even came here, and I did it for 18 years. The only way that's gonna work, I mean, just to get by, is to see if a company could come in and do something with the concrete. They might have to skim a little bit off. You scratch it with a binder and just top it, but you gotta put wedge curbs on it. That's the only way it's gonna work. Other than that,
How long do you think that would last? Not long
to
enough.
be honest with you, I can't guarantee it, but I mean, if we stay on it, like sealing the cracks and stuff like that, and as long as water doesn't get underneath it, it can last more than 5 to 10 years, but that's not a guarantee.
Is that our sealer that sits down
Yeah. So what we do when we do during the summer, when we go out and some of the streets that are starting to were paid like 4 or 5 years ago. We try to save them by selling, selling them all so they can last longer.
So if we was to use a street that's starting to go a little bad, it's cracking, but it's not bad, if we did a tar and chip on it, would that extend the life?
I was just tar. I don't believe in tar and chip. I don't believe in slurry seal. I think if you want to get something done right, you gotta pay. So, but to me, like.
But would that extend the life of that road?
Oh, yeah, it will. I mean, if we do something every year, yes. I mean, as long as we keep on tarring, whatever, certain streets need done, yeah.
Just to make them last a little longer so we take care of the ones that are really bad.
Yeah. And then your alleys, I mean, that's just, it gets wear and tear from garbage trucks, you know what I mean? But you gotta put a true thickness. You can't just put a couple inches and expect miracles. You gotta put 5 inches or more to make it right.
I think most people would be in agreement that if we start, okay, and I mean, if we put the priority, and like you say, if Ellsworth is really, if we only do this much of it this year, I'm just saying, but there's alleys. I mean, like you're saying, it is through the alley that the garbage trucks go. I don't know how they go through.
The last probably 7 or 8 years, we did alleys every year. I mean, the public works did, because we got our own paver. What we do is like when companies come in and they do the streets, they'll mill a couple alleys for, take care of that, if not. But, yeah, we've been doing, the last 7 or 8 years, we've been doing a couple of alleys a year just to try to.
We should continue doing that, and I've been saying that for a long time.
We can continue doing that if we have enough people or people that come to work.
I mean, that was the next, yes, correct.
Well, anyone else have anything to say? Or can we move on to voting on these motions here? Some anxious people here to vote on some motions. I'm one of them. Can I move forward now? Any other questions? All right. Items for consideration. Motion to approve hiring Seth Abrhams as Borough Manager at the salary of $75,000 per year plus benefits. Motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm not sure what this motion is. I'm going to read it, and maybe if someone has any information or I'm asking a question before I read it. So, motion to approve resolution 2022-2, a record of statement confirming the borough has formally requested Act 152 funds and is designating the Steel Rivers COG as an official to perform the required duties between the borough and the Allegheny County Economic Development, and has assured, where applicable, the provisions of local matching funds. In addition, the borough will comply with all other provisions of the Act 152 application. So I do have a question. Does anyone know what this means?
I do.
Dave.
Rick, I think you were emailed on it too in April. Well, 152 was saying there was 2 things involved. First was that to do street sweeping, which is required from us from the DEP to do it twice a year. So that was, I responded saying, yeah, just do anything that.
I did see your response.
And I CC'd you on it. And then the second part was they were asking for if we had any houses that we wanted to demo. And what I did was, I hate tearing down houses. That's the worst thing to do. But there are 4 houses up on Cole Road. Mr. Youngkin's probably familiar with all 4 of them.
Yes.
There's no roads up there. There should never be any more houses up there.
Well, let's make it on record. There was a road there, but the borough quit taking care of it.
Well, it's a private road. It collapsed a couple years ago, so there's really no reason for anyone to develop
But let's
property
make
there.
it that the borough did maintain that road. Yes.
So that's it. So the,
So this application is for the
street
application for getting funding for demolition.
CDBG money? Is it CDBG money?
sweeping? Yes.
Okay.
No, it isn't.
Well, it's not CDBG, right? It's,
The Act 152 was the additional funds that were put on for transfer taxes that is strictly for demolition
yeah,
and related activities that runs through economic development.
yeah.
And there is no matching requirement, although it's recommended that you kick in something. The other requirements are things like on a demo that it's wet, wet, wet if there's asbestos and.
So this by no means guarantees you're gonna get some of this, but it allows you to apply for it.
Right. I think
Was the application actually put in, because those were due at the end of April?
yes, yes.
Okay, so,
I know last year I put in for like 12, we got 2.
okay, so, right, so a motion, I need a motion, unless anyone else has another question.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All in favor. Motion to pay the bills for period April 13th through May 11th, 2022, summarized as follows, with a grand total of $98,159.34. I need a motion. Question?
I'll motion.
Do we have a question? Motion? Dave?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Second by Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All in favor, passes. Number 4, motion to approve payroll for the period of April 13th to April 27th, 2022.
I'd like to ask something.
Certainly, question?
There's a $16,000 difference in a payroll 1 and payroll 2. Can you just give me an idea why?
Scott Snyder's payoff.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so the grand total was $273,280.02. I need a motion.
Motion.
Kevin?
Second.
Dave? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I think there was a motion.
There is a motion.
Pardon me?
I have another motion. Are we gonna motion to authorize Hatch Engineering to move forward or proceed with the bids for Raymond Bodner Way?
Remember you said
That's what he's
just like
mentioning
that?
next.
That's next.
Yeah, that's next.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I just didn't want us to forget it, sorry.
Yeah.
So can you read that again then?
Sure, motion to authorize Hatch Engineering to proceed with bid process for Raymond Bodner Way.
I need a motion.
I'll motion.
Question? I need a second.
I will.
All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passes. And then we need a motion on, do we vote on those already, those resolutions? We already voted those resolutions, so I believe that's all we have then, right? Okay, any other questions, or anyone have anything to add?
I just have one thing, the Homestead Raised Bridge is gonna have some construction work done, starting this Friday, 9 p.m. till Monday morning at 6 a.m. The southbound lane, that's Pittsburgh coming into Homestead, one lane's gonna be shut down while they do their work, weather permitting.
Chief, how's that gonna affect the waterfront race?
That's when we were at that meeting, that's how we found out about it.
Right. I have a couple things, just more like announcements actually. Memorial Day meeting on Thursday, 5 o'clock up here. And something else that I've been talking about, I've been having a guy from Lincoln Place come in, and it's not really a borough thing. It's, Lincoln Place has a Lincoln Place Community Action Committee, which helps out and fundraises and does things and looks out for things for the borough. I'm gonna have a guy from Lincoln Place come in on the 26th and explain to us, anyone wanting to attend, I put it on my site already and have some interested people wanting to attend, where we can see what Lincoln Place has done. I know they've got, grants, this the community group has got grants for deck hockey up in Bragg Park and so forth. So I'd like to talk to him, and I have some interest from some residents that want to attend that.
Mayor, would you like to announce the Memorial Day parade again and everything?
Memorial Day parade, our meeting is our last meeting is Thursday to finalize all the plans. The Memorial Day, we have a mass at 8:15 start at St. Teresa's Church. Lineup for the parade is at 9 o'clock, and that will be at Still Valley High School. The parade will start at 9:30 sharp, leaving from Still Valley High School, going to the Homestead Cemetery. There we'll have our annual festivities there, where we will do our everything we've had in the past. We'll have the gun salute. We'll have a speaker, a guest speaker, and Ms. Fry. What's his name? Get him.
His name is Nick Markoff.
Nick Markoff.
Oh, he is coming?
He is coming.
Awesome.
And he will
He's
be
very
our,
good.
He's very
featured speaker there on Memorial Day. He's a veteran from the Navy that served in the, went to the Naval Academy with Roger Staubach. That's one of the big things about him. Roger Staubach, former football player, Naval Academy, played for the Cowboys. And we have our ceremony there. We have lined up the high school band, of course, to come. We're going to have the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, any group that can come,
organizations in the high school.
any organizations that come, as many as we can get, we're going to try to get out here. And we're going to be honoring a couple veterans also, some of the older veterans sometime in the community that haven't been honored, like hopefully we're trying to get Tom Burke here, and a few others, that are pulled up in the years, some of them. But it should be a nice event, and it will end where we'll be meeting in the old community, the old borough building for our luncheon. And we are getting some donations are coming in, and we don't get donations, we do a little bit of fun that we can use.
Anyone else?
I have two
Yes.
things. Yes, I do too. Go ahead, please.
Well, I would just like to thank Mr. Hanna for all the work that he did on getting us a reliable borough manager. And I know he put a lot of time in, and a lot of personal time, and a lot of legwork. And I don't think if it wasn't for him, I don't think we would have a borough manager yet. It'd still be. But thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
I would like to mention that I did mention before about us paying the interest on the loan that we have at Brentwood Bank. I did go out and talk with Joe Verducci, who is our representative. He said we could do automatic withdrawal of the amount once a month. If we take it out of the general fund, we can either talk about it or we could whatever. I just want you to know, he did give me papers that would avoid paying late fees. Because it just seems to cross, like they send it out the 21st, we don't get it till the 23rd, 24th, it's due the 1st, we end up paying fees. So I wanted to mention that. The other thing, I don't know if anybody was able to follow through about that credit rating for the borough. God knows I didn't understand any of that. And then Becky yesterday sent this thing out about SLFRF, project and expenditure. I don't have a clue what that's all about. Can you help us out, Seth, if you know anything?
Yeah, that report should have been done already. It was the report that was required for the
This
funds that
one?
were expended from the ARPA money.
The ARPA money,
Yeah.
so we can't get an extension or anything.
I don't know what will happen, but that was due to be filed by April 30th.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
We'll wait.
I'm gonna guess the treasurer's gonna be pretty lean, just because pretty much every municipality in the whole country got funds, and anything under 10 million is considered chump change by the treasurer. You barely have to account for it. So I get it in very quickly.
I sent an email to the treasury when I realized it was going to be late. I just got a generic reply so far. You know, we've received your correspondence and we will get back to you. So far, they haven't got back. You know, maybe you can help us out with that, Seth.
Yes.
If it's okay with council, I am planning on talking with Jamie Glasser at the end of this week, because I'm assuming that she will also have updates and any information on SAM registration through the system award management through the federal government, because that's required, and you have to be signed in and have all that information, so.
Certainly you have our blessing.
See what we can do.
Great.
The other thing that needs to be arranged is the meeting with, which we discussed at the working meeting, was the meeting with Brentwood Bank around, and, you know, Greg was part of this also, which he recommended, right? Another lawyer that did the bond, which his name escapes me right there, but that needs to be arranged because the bridge loan, the $850,000, is due on July 1st. While
That's what I said.
I didn't think they picked that up. That's
Yeah.
why I'm bringing it up that way.
Yeah.
The,
We're talking over $1 million in 3 bills that have to be paid, not
That's
to mention.
that's 800,000 of just that one alone.
$850,000 that's.
By July 1st.
Right, but Jamie Glasser was willing to participate along with Greg and, you know, the other legal counsel.
The bond counsel, Anthony Ditka, who we bring in when we do borrowings because they're very complicated DCED requirements, and he ensures that we satisfy those requirements. This is typical in all municipalities. He's very knowledgeable. He was involved in this, in securing this loan. So that's why I suggested the bill, we invite him back to approach Brentwood Bank and look for some sort of extension, because the timing hasn't worked out. The loan is coming due, but we haven't received the grant funds yet. So I am hopeful that we can work something out with the bank, but we need to get those parties together as soon as possible and get to the bank and see what arrangements can be made. With council's approval of that, and I think we need to get moving with those people to make that.
So who institutes the conversation? That's something
I don't know the people of Brentwood because I wasn't involved in that.
His name's Joe Verducci. He's our representative for anything financial.
Yeah, I can get in touch tomorrow with Anthony Ditka, and I know he was involved in securing this loan in the first place, so he knows the bank representative. If you want me to, I'll reach out to him and tell him what the situation is and ask him for assistance in DCD compliance and give an extension on the due date for the loan.
So we're waiting for monies to pay this off, right? We're waiting for the.
Yeah, this was a bridge loan.
We're waiting for money. We took this loan out so that we had to take the loan out so we could get the money from a grant.
Right, we had $1 million grant, and the only way to get the grant, the condition was you have to get a bridge loan.
Right.
Which we did.
Right.
And now the bridge loan's coming due before we've been able to get the grant money.
Right.
So that's the problem, we need more time, so.
Okay. So why don't you initiate that
I will.
conversation?
I'll
Get
start
that
it.
started.
I'll do it tomorrow.
And then we'll certainly see the requirements, what we have to get the loan, get the grant. I mean, we filled out all the paperwork. I believe she has it all filled out. Is that correct?
She's willing to be part of the conversation. She said in her email from last week, which she did the day after the working meeting, that she put a copy of the actual agreement for the bridge loan and explains right that she'd be happy to participate in the conversation because the likelihood of having the grant money before the loan comes due is pretty slim.
Yeah, I think so too.
So she agreed to participate in that. If you look in the agreement, which Greg obviously does this every day, There are some things there that if for default, that we need to discuss with them itself. Then there's interest payments, if you default, there's a lot of stuff right there you don't want to do. So I think having Greg contact.
Yeah, I'll start that tomorrow, and I'll just, should I use Bill as my point of contact for council then?
Sure, I
Do that?
can work
Because
that.
you've already started working on it.
Do you have Joe Barducci's, here's Joe Barducci's contact.
No, that's-
He's Brentwood Bank.
Can I keep this piece?
Certainly, sure.
Right. All right, thank you.
Little bit.
I'll get started tomorrow.
And do you have Jamie Glasser's contact
I
info?
do.
I was gonna say, I have to.
So absolutely, we should definitely do that, because it's just a matter of timing now.
And last but not least, maybe Seth knows that answer. How soon did we miss the credit rating to get the borough? Do you have any idea? Was that was coming through daily, like somebody's got to contact them? None of us had a clue.
The folks that do the S&P Global
Yeah.
have reached out to us. They just want us to talk about last year versus what we reported versus what we actually did. They just need somebody to reach out to them and have a
Well,
meeting with them.
Can I think for that conversation with the questions that were asked, there are questions that probably we're gonna need our auditor that audited the books, because what we said and what we did were two different things.
Right.
That the bond rating, people are doing it, they're looking at that for obvious reasons. One, for the future, if you ever ask for more money, or two, the concern of you paying back what you have already.
What you owe.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I guess I could certainly make a telephone call and say, hey, we're hiring a new borough manager. Right there, we're right in the middle of this. Right there, we'll be ready, and then I think we should contact the auditor that we've used and, refer to him. Right there. 'cause
Fill
he's-
the form out.
Well,
We need the
he's gonna
numbers. Right.
Well, we need, to do this, you need the auditor. You also need bookbinders, right there, that has the run rate and all the checks and everything else. So they're asking for why did your proposed budget, the budget you accepted, why is it different than what the audit report says, okay? That's really what I get out of it. I understand finance, but I don't do finance for a living either, so
And there's the big discrepancies.
there are several.
Right. That's the question.
If we can hold them off for a week so I can start to dig into the books.
Okay.
A week or two, that'd be great. If you can't, I'm happy to try and make myself available via phone. I've done one of those calls with S&P, for the bond that my firm, Borough took out. And it was the initial one to get the rating.
Right.
It wasn't all that difficult, but you do have to be comfortable with your budget and why you overspend in one area, underspend, and the same kind of things that the auditor should be asking every year when you do your audit.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have one really quick thing.
No.
The nursing home in the back that we own,
Yes.
I know that was brought up. I have an interested buyer. I told him I'd just ask real quick. Would we have to put up auction, or would we go real estate agent? How does it?
Either put up for a live auction or accept sealed bids. Has to be advertised in the newspaper.
Because there is an interested buyer. He's called me 5 times already on it.
Is that on a separate parcel ID number? Really?
I would think so, yes. I'd have to look.
Otherwise, we have to subdivide it first.
I'd have to look.
So I think that's a great question, because this is actually Colin provided this to me, the parking places that we have at the top, right there. Colin provided, so if we just pass that down. The ones that have this, the long lines and the short dots are ours right there. That's what we have as part of the legal document itself. So we sold the building itself. I'm sure that someone's gonna want parking.
Absolutely, there's
So-
one part.
I mean, that's, Yeah, I was gonna give that to Dave, pass that down to Dave, I haven't forwarded it.
We'll have to find out if it is, if it's on a separate parcel.
It looks like it on that map.
Does it?
There's an outline around it, but there's no parcel ID. And I can figure
The
that out.
county page will show.
Right, yeah, kind
I have it.
I think it should show.
Is it fair to ask, what's his intentions on what's he want to do with that building?
More like an apartment,
Pardon me?
apartments.
Apartments?
That's the big thing, huh?
This is 1850 right there.
1850, that's the
18
address.
That's the address.
There's a lot of 18, this is the only building at 1850?
I believe so. My,
Because there's a lot over there, here.
Yeah.
That's who you are.
Right.
I have a lot of this already, but actually, my wife helped with this when we were looking at it, so the researchers in the back row,
She's pointing a finger at you.
She's good.
so, I mean,
So now we know you're
there's Turtle Creek, there's the Borough of Munhall, there's, everything there's a parking lot,
Vision, yeah.
there's the old Homestead Hospital, there's a bunch, there's at least, there's a parking lot, 1850, the old Homestead Hospital, the mental health folks right there at the front of the building. I'm sure Dave knows more than I know.
So we don't need a real estate agent to sell the
You
property.
can't use a real estate agent unless you attempt to sell it at least 2 times through advertising, which we did with the vacant land at the waterfront.
Right.
And if you're unsuccessful, then you can hire a real estate agent.
So
We have
you're-
to do this process I'm describing to you first.
Right. And that would be a advertised sale.
I'd have to prepare specs for an ad, and it would go in a newspaper. I talked to Becky about how to advertise it. We'd set a deadline for sealed bids, they'd be opened, and you don't have to accept any of them. And we did this with the waterfront.
Right.
Multiple times.
Right.
We're never gonna bid we liked, but there's gonna be a parking issue with this building. There's no dedicated parking out there. The reserved parking is ours, which I'm disoriented on where that side of the building is.
It's back,
Behind
back
spots.
that way.
Yeah, those spots in front are dedicated. This is a joint agreement, which was part of the sale. With, at the time, it was Turtle Creek Valley Mental Health, which is still there, Blind and Vision. I think they sold, I don't even know if they still own part of the building, but there's designated parking. So in order for this, a new buyer to get parking would have to then approach all of us. and try to
Could we give them the parking lot that we were supposed to build in the top of
No,
there?
that's for their use.
That's
right.
for whose use?
No, it's for use for
This building?
all of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that agreement in a long time, but I think that's what it was. And it's possible they could be good spots up there, but, I mean, in terms of how we list it for sale, we couldn't guarantee any parking. We just say, this is what it is, and they do some research and see there's no guaranteed parking. That might be a deal breaker for somebody, but we can't guarantee parking, because this is all the entities that I described for you that have a voice in this. Just to let you know about this, but you can test the waters if you have an interested buyer. I don't know, is there any other parking anywhere around that, Dave?
Not really.
Is this right, have to be right here? I mean,
Yeah.
Where that lot up there where the old water tower was, that's sitting
Yeah,
there,
they can maybe-
that's sitting there.
They could negotiate potentially with, the Turtle Creek Valley.
Right. Possible.
But, again, that's not something we have
We wanna-
exclusive control over.
Right. So do you want Greg to look into this, council? I mean, this is something that he needs some direction on.
Sure.
I would think, right?
Absolutely. And what's the building good for?
It's not good for us.
I think it's just a liability.
It is a liability. We have no insurance on the building if we do roof.
We need a motion?
Not at this point, because I'm not, well, here's what I'm thinking. I have a file for it, it's gotta be 4 inches thick when this building was purchased, the whole transaction history, and that diagram Bill had, I have a color of that, I have all this information. I wanna go back and dig into this and see what parking options we may have to be able to convey who the entities are. I need to revisit that agreement. I'd like to report back to you about that so we know exactly what that situation is before I draft an ad to go in the newspaper.
Agreed.
Okay,
Agreed.
so I'll do that first and report back, and then if we think it's worthwhile, then I can draft an ad and we'll advertise it. That sound good?
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you for telling us about that, Mr. Bailey.
Anything else? I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion with John.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?